event is titled From Forest to Production, Wood in Finnish Architecture, Design and Fashion. And on the short video we just saw a few examples of products of Finnish architecture built of wood. These and others, as well as articles drawing an image of the history today and the future of Finnish wooden architecture, will soon be launched on the site arcinfo.fi. My name is Miina Jutila. I will host this event on behalf of Arcinfo, Information Center for Finnish Architecture. This event is part of a series of events or discussions that are organized together with Finnish Design Info and Fashion Finland. The next event, hosted by Finnish Design Info, will take place next week on Friday morning. Before today's discussion, we will make an expedition deep into the forest, guided by philosopher Dr. Jaakko Mikkonen. Jaakko is currently a researcher at the Department of Social Sciences and Philosophy and at the School of Resource Wisdom at the University of Jyväskylä. His ongoing research focuses on the role of aesthetics in environmentalism. Let's hear what the forest philosopher has to say about the forests.
A forest is a large area of land covered with trees, a dictionary definition says. Sure enough, there cannot be a forest without trees. Nonetheless, trees do not yet make a forest. Actually, there could be lots of trees without there being a forest. One might want to add that forest is also a living environment, home for many species, and a network of complex relations between the species and their environment. In addition to the vegetal world, a forest includes the fungal world and the soil as a part of the circulation of life, and the animal world, of course. What seems characteristic for forest, the human experience of forest, is the cover the forest produces by the canopy closure, tree density, the undergrowth. One can hide oneself in a forest, or one may get lost in a forest. For this reason, a child's forest may be smaller than an adult's. This is the human perspective. Different species have different requirements for a forest, as for the kind and age of the trees, and the size and type of the land, where the Siberian jay, flying squirrel, or some wood decay fungus. One may wonder whether it is reasonable to talk about the forest on a universal or general level. Forests and experiences with them are many in kind. Climatic differences, for instance, make forests perceptually and experientially distinct. Light and hot tropical forests provide experiences different from those with dark and cold boreal forests. Further, there are different criteria applied in appreciating, aesthetically or otherwise, different types of forest. In Finland, there have been two competing notions of forest since the 19th century. On the one hand, there is the natural, uneven-aged mixed forest with a rich undergrowth, the forest of the Romantics. On the other hand, there is the managed, even-aged monospecies forest with good visibility and little undergrowth, the forest of economy. The ecologist Ilkka Hanski found it uncomfortable that we call these both woodlands forests and do not distinguish between natural forests and commercial forests the same way we distinguish between meadows and fields. What is characteristic for natural or natural-like forests is the diversity of tree species, their varying ages and shapes, dense undergrowth, and high number of fallen trees. A characteristic often emphasized in representations of beauty in nature writing is that the natural environment is a product of chance. In a natural forest, every tree is an individual, its place in the forest, its surrounding, weather history, and various other partly unknown factors have made it what it is. The density of a natural forest decreases visibility, affecting the sense of surprise, which is absent from homogeneous, managed forests. By its very form and structure, the forest covers and conceals. It creates a mystery that prompts our imagination. The trees that surround us take different forms. We are outside the everyday environment which we master, in an unpredictable environment in which we encounter the otherness of the plant and the animal. The architecture of a forest is an opposite to built human environment. There are no straight lines or symmetry, and the trees go beyond human spatial scale. In natural forests, their age is also beyond comprehension. But the time of a forest is cyclical time. There are dead trees in various positions, they rot in the ground, and new life grows out of them. Many find consolation in this circulation. The forest also calms us. We sense a familiar shelter, our primordial home. By looking at forest-related words in Finnish language, we notice that people have gone into the forest for a certain purpose. But in addition to the explicit reason, or the reason one is aware of, there could be other reasons too. The axe might be a prop only, or perhaps the reason will get clear in the woods. Historically, a forest has been a central place for contemplation. In many religions, enlightenment or revelation takes place in the wilderness. Think, for instance, of Moses, or at least under a tree, as with Buddha. Even modern science establishes a mythical link between the tree and insight, as in the case of Newton. And so does philosophy. Think of Martin Heidegger in The Solitude of the Black Forest. Today, Western people often enter the woods in order to get rid of the everyday, including, or indeed particularly, science and technology. Immersion and the loss of subjectivity characteristic for the experience of forest is often considered a liberating experience. A forest exists outside us, but when we enter the woods, the experience is always culturally mediated. As a place, a forest always has a ground layer of mythological and historical meanings. The forest has a significant place in the Western cultural imagination. Its transhistorical interest lies in its mixed nature as a treat and a shelter. It is a place of alienness and danger, and a permanent source of wonder, respect, and meaning. The forest is outside culture and rationality. The Latin word foris, for instance, literally means outside. In philosophical aesthetics, forest has been considered a problematic environment. First, forest is dynamic. It is an extremely serpentine entity in continuous change, containing life ranging from microorganisms to large animals. Its perceptual features change all the time. Light and rain affect its colors, and the scents and smells are different between and within the seasons. How could we then assess aesthetic judgments about forests? Further, a forest is many. There are endless dimensions in our experiences with natural environments, numerous values and kinds of knowledge involved. In addition, an engagement with the forest requires our entering the woods, and in the forest, our experience of the environment is always partial, subjective, and accidental. What we perceive depends on our interests, expectations, choices, and sheer happenstance. Moreover, the distinction between the subject and the object does not hold in the forest, where the so-called object surrounds the subject, and the subject blends in with the so-called object. The philosopher Arnold Berland is certainly right in saying that the environment is in the appreciator, for example, as air in her lungs. Ancient forests have produced the oxygen one inhales, and the carbon dioxide one exhales feeds the growing trees. In a forest, a human being is a participant who affects the life in the woods. She has to be careful not to disturb animals and watch out for beasts. And she always leaves her marks in the forest. There is often also a narrative dimension and dramatic elements in our experiences of nature, which relate to our bodily presence and proceeding in the environment. Fog may hide the trees and reveal them little by little, disclosing things in a mysterious fashion. Our position changes constantly, and our steps guide the story, if you wish. A light crow after a dark coniferous forest, or vice versa. The objects encountered are the same, but the experience is radically different. A brave person may surrender to the forest and let it tell its story. After all, a forest constantly invites one deeper and deeper. But the forest may also misguide one. One's unawareness of one's location and direction may be desired things in one's search for tranquility. Conversely, one's getting lost in a perhaps even familiar forest may be a frightening experience, and in Nordic culture it is known to produce a feeling of the unreal. Finally, our sensory experiences in the woods are colored with our beliefs, associations, memories, emotions, even dreams. Roland Bordessa, a scholar in religious studies, has interestingly claimed that the Finnish experience of forest is ultimately an inward experience, and speak about the forest, an articulation of Lutheran faith. His claim is that Finns do not actually see the forest, rather they look at themselves in the woods. Further, our actual experiences of forests and our ideal forests often seem to differ, partly perhaps because there is little left of the kind of forests many of us appreciate. But it looks like it has been this way for a long, long time. When the Finnish national romantics wandered into White Karelia in the 19th century, they were constantly pushing forward to encounter the real primeval forest. No matter the grandeur of the trees or the magnificence of the woods, they simply could not catch what they expected. The forest just kept escaping, never surrendering itself to the painter or the poet.
Welcome to our panelists. Jaakko Torvinen, architect, Design Director Antti Olin, and Chief Innovation Officer Olli Kähkönen. Welcome.
Thank you.
3/4 of Finland or Finnish territory is covered by forest, and one could say that forest is in the Finnish psyche. And inspired by Jukka Mikkonen's philosophical remarks, let's make a quick round on your thoughts about the forest. What does the forest mean to you personally?
Well, it's for being a Nordic, I think it's very natural that it's a part of our life, part of our life. It's a place where to relax. It's a place to wander, place to go. It's a TV for ecosystem. It's where actually all the nature, you can see the beautiful ecosystem and actually circular economy. Have to say they're in the forest. Important part of my life.
Yeah. Maybe as a furniture designer, it's been the main raw material for me since studying the subject, but kind of a more personal touch became 4 years ago when we built our first own summer house in the mid Finland by the lake and in the middle of the forest. So even you cannot say that you own the small spot of the forest, but you kind of have the permit to control it, and the kind of a relationship between the woods it's quite strong. So that's like my personal touch for the Finnish forest at the moment. So.
Well, for me, it's some place where to go when you want to relax, as you said also. And to root myself something timeless, I think the forest is something you really understand that it has been there longer than I've existed or we have existed. And well, it's always a fascinating journey when you go to forest. You always see something new there, and at least myself, I'm always taking some treasures that I find from there, so weird shaped branches or something like that. So it's a place which is more creative than the world that we have created.
For sure, that's a good point. I like that one.
Jaakko, you have designed the Little Finlandia event center that we also saw on the video insert here. The process started as a student project in the Aalto University wood program, and then you continued and did your diploma thesis on the building, and then you, with some fellow students, you completed the implementation drawings and design. Could you please tell a little bit about the design process of the Little Finlandia?
Well, the whole basic idea behind that was when I started thinking that what Finlandia means for me. It was Pikku Finlandia, Little Finlandia for Finlandia Hall, and for me it almost equals to Finnishness and that national romantic scenery where old pines and pine forests grow. So that's the main point in that design, and I painted these paintings where those pine trees, they are holding the roof and they act as a load-bearing structure, and at the same time they create this forest-like atmosphere. So it was the basic idea was such that otherwise the building is really straightforward and almost minimalistic, but then the natural shapes and organic shapes of those trees, they kind of create the weirdness or the interesting point of that building. And then it was a student competition, so it was 18 students that we were on that same course, and then 4 were chosen to be developed in groups, and I got my 2 colleagues, Havu Järvelä and Elli Vendelin, to work with me, and then it was chosen to be realized. After that, we did a mock-up with wood program at Aalto University to try out what is it actually to go to forest, choose a tree, fell it down, and how to peel it, and to use it as a load-bearing structure. So it totally fulfilled my master studies, and I would say that the wood chose me more than I choose the wood.
Yes, this building is a temporary event space while the Finlandia Hall by Alvar Aalto is under renovation. So do you already know what is the future of this building?
Well, the main point from the beginning was that it's not only one-time use, the whole building. So it's designed to be at least for 30 years use. At Finlandia Hall, it might be that to 2025 it will be disassembled and then moved to next site. So it's made from 30 modules, which can be disassembled and then moved to somewhere else in Helsinki. And it might be that next use is school or kindergarten. So that means that Finnish children can learn how to climb trees.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. So Antti, you are the design director of Isku, but you also have you're a designer yourself, an interior architect, and Isku is a leading operator in the Finnish furniture industry, founded in 1928, I believe. So it's an old company. Could you tell a little bit about the social responsibility aspect of Isku, because it seems to be quite a strong wish for the company.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the roots goes back to 1928, so 94-year-old company nowadays, and the whole kind of starting point was wood furniture, and that's how the whole company was found. And when it comes to sustainability and ecological issues, it's you could say even it's a must thing nowadays if you want to be in the business. But maybe also the background and the family-owned ideology is also to respect the nature and the raw materials and all that. So we are doing a lot of things. Just opened the biggest solar plant in Finland, which is creating the electricity for our factory and using, for example, wood in many various ways, but as sustainable as possible. So it's one of also the core things and missions that we tell when we go abroad, because that's also the global market is the goal where we are heading. And just 2 weeks ago I was in Paris launching some novelties, and even birch is really natural and normal material for us, but it was really exotic to the Parisian architects and designers, and even took some birch logs from my summer cottage. Just 23 kilos that I could take it to the airplane, but it was it's nice to see that things that we keep quite obvious and normal, it's pretty nice and respected abroad. So
yes, wood is definitely an integral part of Finnish or Scandinavian design in general, in the furniture design. But there are many new uses of wood also in Isku's portfolio. So could you tell a little bit about how to use wood in a more innovative way?
Yeah, I think everybody pretty much knows that ever since Aalto and Eames and Jacobsen in Denmark created the bent veneer products or bent plywood products. The next step that happened about 5 or 6 years ago, together with UPM, which is a forest industry company here in Finland, was heat formable plywood, and that's now the source and the raw material that we create every single chair in our factory, and it's really cutting down the waste material that's created from creating bent plywood products. So that's maybe one of the newest innovations in the field of using wood in a modern way.
Olli, so you are the co-founder and CEO and head of innovation of Nordic Bioproduct Group. This is an Aalto University spin-off company founded a few years ago, together with Professor Olli Dahl. And he is the inventor of a certain process to produce microcrystalline cellulose. Could you tell a little bit more about this in simple words so that we understand?
Yeah, let's not go too deep in there, but I think related to what the guys just said, that the forest and the wood in forest and so on. So the whole idea of also our company, it's Professor Olli Dahl's idea to how to utilize the Finnish forest resources in a smarter way, and actually how to find possibilities to valorize, to utilize not only the wood and cellulose but other main parts in every plants that we have there, and find a way to find a way to create and develop technologies can utilize these all these raw materials, all the feedstock we have in forest and forestry-based materials. That's what we are doing as well, and the whole idea is to show that there's actually more valuable materials there in our forest that we can utilize in architecture or in furniture or in much wider broad of possibilities. Microcrystalline cellulose is one of the materials that we are producing there, but we have developed those further, like cellulose-based textile fibers and also materials that could replace harmful chemicals, glues and so on in furniture making and so on. And there is a lot inside there. As in a forest, when you just see the forest, the first scenery you have, maybe it doesn't tell everything it's there, but when you go deeper inside there, you see all the the whole ecosystem there and inside the plants. That's super interesting, but maybe next time we go with a microscope where is actually inside there. But trying to bring in more in this whole discussion and the whole economy here in Finland also, that actually we have so much there. We have called it like the forest as well, our green gold or green oil or whatever we call it, but that's true. But we are not, maybe if I say that we haven't yet been able to utilize it fully, but maybe in the future, hopefully. And we are in this road as well to try to be one of them that offering these solutions.
Really keen on waiting that would love to replace the foam materials, for example, in upholstered furniture and such. So hope to get those one day.
Yeah, and the whole supply chain and as well, that that when you logistics of transporting your furniture and so on, what can be done there more sustainably and so on. But the whole idea is that to create an impact, environmental, social, governance impact through our activities, what our company doing, and hopefully we can also work later together, and hopefully one day we're building a new factory where I know the architecture already, that who I'm going to ask to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So in all, Finland as a country, the government of Finland has really high aims to be carbon neutral by 2035, possibly already before that. And of course, wood plays a role in this, and the government promotes wood construction and the use of wood in many ways. And as we have all been talking about, that there are new ways to use wood also, and perhaps we should use it more. But do you see a contradiction in felling down trees for construction or for material that we use instead of letting it grow, and for the biodiversity and protecting the well-being of our planet?
Well, there's quite many points, like when we think about that we should be making better future for us, the construction or we use too much material all the time, and the energy to create new materials is quite in a big role. And if we can change the constructions to be greener, that is actually changing the problem to a solution. And to the question, like, is it bad thing that we are cutting the forests for the buildings? I would say that's one of the best things to do if we are cutting the forests, that we use those trees for long-term products. That I think we are all in the same field.
For
in
sure.
that mean that we are not using.
They are renewable, right? So if we're cutting a tree, and in Finland we have had over 100 years already a law that you need to see the next one there. So in that sense, that's a quite, I would say, sensitive question, and there's for sure different kind of opinions depending that from which angle you approach this one. But also, if I would say that I think it's a good question, excellent question there, and I think this is one of the topics that in a political level at the moment in EU, and Finland is also now trying to find the balance there, that how much we can actually utilize our resources here. And it's, have to say, discussing a lot of the fashion industry and the big players in fashion industry. Let's say that if you're a representative of big giant fashion group and you are from Southern Europe, you might have an idea that no way to cut a tree to make any textiles, but because it's insane. But in Finland, as we know that how the forestry is done, the forest management is done, I think still we are in good side. Of course, we can always do it better, and we should take care of the biodiversity that it's there. But I have to say that I think we're doing quite good already there, right? That and the trees, one day it's better to cut them at some point to make to get more forests.
Exactly. But
Sorry.
We should make sure that when we cut down tree, we cut it down when it's around 80 years old.
Yeah, that's true.
So
personal opinion
how long time are we using that tree? It should be at least at the same 80 years to be sure that same tree is again grown in a forest.
But kind of besides of using wood to high quality wooden architecture, also the use it in high quality wooden furniture is pretty good use compared to paper or cardboard or whatever it's mainly used nowadays. So and then it also comes to design and such things, whether you make it a long lasting as a product and from design point of view. So then it has a long history and long use age.
I agree. We have a dining table which is from 1940s, wooden table, and I replaced one part a few months ago because it was broken. But like wooden table, so you can actually repair it by yourself, and I think that's something that we could also learn in building sector. That kind of I think we evaluate highly wooden furniture, but we should do same with wooden buildings, that we actually maintain them and repair them and take care of them. But other thing that we could use more is reused wood. So we wouldn't need to cut down so many trees if we would utilize the same material that we have already in our buildings.
Do you know from the chemistry side that is it possible to make pulp for uses as you use the wood from wood that comes from an old building, for instance?
Sure, it is, sir, and to a certain extent, of course. Of course, the big pulp mills doesn't work like that. The whole value chain needs to be built in a different way. But you can utilize the excess wood and those, of course, and just different kind of mechanical treatments, thermomechanical treatments, and chemical pulping as well, to a certain extent. But it is possible. And I think someone is maybe doing that also into some small scale, but it's not a big business yet, actually. Yet.
We also have replaced some of the student chairs that are plastic, that there's certain 20 or 30% of pulp used, so it's kind of a cutting down a little bit of the plastic use, but anyway.
And Finland, I think the Aalto University, one of examples, then other universities in Finland, they're doing good job at the moment. In Lahti you have a lab there who's doing great job there also to trying to find a new novel ideas how to utilize these raw materials. But to be, if there's anyone in the audience understanding that, I'm not saying that pulping industry is so different that you just cannot throw their, piece of timber there. It's a different process, but something else than not the traditional as the pulp, which goes to the paper, tissue, cardboard. Maybe not that one, but something else, more scale.
So, what is your opinion about? You mentioned to have these composite materials where you use possibly plastic or plastic oil-based products together with cellulose or wood-based products. What are your opinions about this? Is it a good way to use wood, or?
The best way would be the solid wood used. Then it's the most long-lasting. But in some really difficult plastical forms, it's the only thing, at least in those products, is that we can replace part of the plastic with wood. And actually create much more nicer surface and feeling in the material as well. So
that's actually something we also doing, and we have clients that they do have an interest to add in the plastic some parts of cellulose and wood or cellulosic materials, and it really gives also the touch and feel is different. Less fossil-based materials used then, and so on. But of course, then it's another. It depends so much on the end product actually where you're going to use it and so on. But I'm saying yes. Good. Let's use that material there as well.
So all bioproduct based use is good use.
Can you maybe? What do you think, guys? I think maybe it's hard to say that everything, but when it's wise, when it's smart, then yes.
In your opinion, what should Finland export? Wood for our forestry industry is a huge export business in Finland. Now we export mostly toilet paper, cardboard, boxes that flies around the world in Amazon boxes. What is the wood product that we should export, or is there a wood product that we should export?
I would try to keep most of the wood here in Finland and build more out of that timber that we are cutting down to use it in our own buildings. I think that goes that principle that we should always build from local materials. So in also at the foreign countries, they should build from own local materials, hopefully from timber if they have forests. Something that we could export is our knowledge or design or yeah.
You know, from our perspective, our point of view, as one of the companies that trying to create more added value products out of forest-based materials, so that an alternative to that we would use the majority of that material into these low value commodities. Instead of that, why wouldn't we use some of the materials so that it really brings more added value to Finland as well, and more export and so on, so that if you think about the pulp prices are, if you say that 800-1,000 euros per ton, like in our technology, which is just one of the interesting technologies that there are here in Finland created. With our technology, we can turn the pulp into a 6 times, even 10 times more higher price value products that could be utilized in medicine, food industry also, and chemistry and cosmetics and so on. So there's a lot of opportunities. Finland is, of course, Finland, we should be grateful for the whole forest industry. It's giving us a lot of things, as we know, but still time is changing and world is changing, and maybe we could go towards higher added value products towards that direction. And one point I have to say that basically if you're talking about pulp, so pulp basically, in theory at least, comes from the excess parts that you are not utilizing for timber and so on, right? And that the logs and so on, the rest of it goes to pulping, in theory at least. So, in theory, at least. Yeah.
Or let's hope it's.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope. Yeah.
The audience, you are very welcome to join the discussion via the chat, which is found on the right hand side of the video playing on YouTube. So welcome to send your comments and questions to the panelists. So it sounds like there are a lot of synergies between these different kind of perspectives from which you look at wood. Is there something that you would kind of wish from each other, like from product development, or what are your wishes?
If you could replace plastic, that would be
that's
awesome.
That's an easy thing to do. I think there's a lot of other ones asking the same thing, but it's also need to be realistic there. That from, let's say, chemical point of view, that these oil-based materials, they're just unique. You just cannot do the same kind of bonding with organic, other kind of materials, renewable materials in that sense. So to some extent, yeah. But then also, if you think about the fashion world and fashion industry, so this forest-based new textile fibers that Finland has developed quite a lot here. We are, at the moment, I think we are #1 country in the whole world that is creating novel new ideas from forest regarding the textiles, and there's several different lovely companies that are doing great job there to bring more added value products there as well, and so.
In your development work, you have also developed wood treatment
yes,
materials and colors
yes,
out of wood fiber.
Yeah, and once again to go there, we have cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, basically tree materials, and then extractives in every wood, and then utilizing all of these parts when you're processing you have a technology that can process all of these and with environmental friendly way to extract them into different streams, and then utilize these like cellulose into textile fibers or microcrystalline cellulose, and the hemicellulose could be utilized as sugars in production of also colors and dyeing colors and so on. And lignin could, you know, as we know, that is also partially already been able to replace harmful glues and so on, and more development work, research work is going on here in Finland. So I think we're doing quite good, and it will not happen in over one night. It will still take years, and maybe 10 years, maybe decade or something like that. But I think we're on the right track there to be more sustainable and to take care of the forests that we have here. They are precious for all of us, as we think for sure here, and to really have it, to remain them as they are, but at the same time also being able to get living out of them. So how could we do this, that it's a place where to go to relax and with your family and do biking, do hiking and whatever there, and at the same time how can there be the start of business? It's not that easy, but I think Finland and Nordics have done a great job there.
Because there has to be that kind of demand and pressure also from the customers and the end users, that they want to have this. It's not only based on a price of a product or architect building. Yeah. So let's hope that pressure kind of grows. Yeah.
So we need the people who want to buy these products or have their buildings designed of wood. What else do we need to really make the use of wood greater in Finland? Do we need something from the government, for instance?
Yes, for sure.
What do we need?
Well, sorry.
Yeah. No, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, when we are choosing which material we are using, for example, for buildings, it's a pity that we are choosing the cheapest solution. It shouldn't be something that we value. It's not. We should use such solutions that we can kind of create this better future for everybody. It shouldn't be something that it depends on money. That's
exactly.
And how could government help me? I don't know, supporting new novel ideas, innovations, as they are doing already. Of course, we have Business Finland helping this one. We already, as there as well, I would say that we are doing already good. Of course, we can always enhance and do it better. And I think that's the intention of also, I think, governments and everyone's to do it even better. But not hard to say that what could government do for us, for example, more than they are doing at the moment. I don't know. Maybe we do it. It starts from ourselves. That let's go and express ourselves and find the solutions there and bring the opportunities there and then ask.
The aim is to build public buildings from wood, but we haven't reached the percentage that we are aiming for.
Because they kind of have to show examples of how much the ecological things are valued, not only the price, whether it's choosing a building and architecture or the furniture inside the building. So it's that kind of things they can.
The government has been promoting wood construction since the mid-90s and with different programs. And the wood program that is running until next year now is, like you mentioned, its objective is to grow the number of public buildings and high-rise, or I guess they are low-rise buildings.
Multi-story.
Yes, multi-story wood buildings. And do you think one of the problems why the development hasn't happened as fast as hoped for would be that there are, even though it's our traditional way to build, but in today's world that we don't yet have the standardization and the production lines figured out because there aren't so many produced. So do we just need more volume? Is that what brings more volume?
That might be. I think that there is now quite many different production lines who are doing that, and some construction firms are doing the first wooden multi-story building, and kind of everybody is inventing same thing again and again. So standardizing and also sharing the knowledge that what we everybody has, that might boost
You had some interesting ideas about also not forgetting the traditional methods, and I believe at the Aalto University wood program you also, where you are a teacher now, that there you also learn, or the students learn methods of working with wood, like you said you have been selecting the tree trunks yourself for the building, and you were felling the trees, and you have been working on them. So how important is it to really have your hands on the wood to be able to understand wood construction?
Well, I think that's really crucial that you understand that timber or wood is not just a material, it's something more. It's a really interesting, almost a construction by itself, the whole wood and timber. And good that you mentioned the kind of history in wood and wood architecture, because that's something that we could learn from. Like in really old times, we used trees and timber in different forms. Like we didn't use only straight trunks, but if there were curvage, we used that to make a.
There was a place for that one as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Or Viking shipbuildings,
exactly.
they used all those different curves, and when you think about the branch connection to the timber, that's the most kind of hardest part of the whole tree. So we should try to utilize those also, which we are not utilizing right now. And I think it will kind of lost some of that when mass production came. So we needed to simplify things, which was might have been good, but nowadays we could again bring something from the craftsmanship, from the old part to this new era.
And isn't it so also that I think in your industry that the machinery has developed so much, the tools and like that also, that it comes more cost efficiency also to do these things, that when back in the days when we have less machinery and equipment, tools, so on, so it was too complicated. It was easier to make these dull straight forms and do it like that, and not to appreciate the forms of nature.
And the wood program at Aalto University, you mentioned that we are teaching how to use timber. I think we are mainly trying to teach to forget how to use timber as we are using it right now, so we can open the mind to create something different. So it's a one-year program for architect students or already graduate architects, and it's an experimental wood program where we always build something one-to-one scale. And at the first, the assignments are more abstract, that we are trying to use tools as they are not meant to be used, and just to search what is timber and how can we use it.
And in this program, there are most of the students are international students.
Yes.
And it's a very popular program.
It is. Actually, this year there is no Finn. Only
Really?
they are from
We have a few
8 or something.
questions and comments from the chat. Peter McKeith from America, he thanks for this important presentation and discussion, and he would like to hear your responses to philosopher Jukka Mikkonen's he distinguished between the natural forest and the commercial forest.
That was a good.
Yes. So, what are your remarks on this?
Could I was just I noticed the same thing, that there's a meadows and there's a fields, and I never heard it before, but and I've heard a lot of discussions on this around this topic, and never thought about it before. Actually, could there be even in Finnish a word for that one as well? That there's a natural forest and the forest fields, whatever would be, I don't know, metsätät ja metsätät, whatever that would it be. But from our, I think in Finland they are mixed quite well, and I think the whole idea here is that we wouldn't have too much of these what would I say, economical forest or so on, that cultivated forest, that would be mixed forest and so on. That I think also the attitude here is going towards that we have less and less these only straightforward, you know, for forest industry planted forest here. But it's a good question and a bad answer, because you know, this is something we really need to think about it. But that was a very philosophical thinking. Yeah.
For biodiversity.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And even now, when I mentioned the summer house that we built 4 years ago, it's pretty authentic and old forest. But then again, my kids, they are like 5 and 10, and they kind of think that this is the forest when I go to this more organized and so on. So it's also something that you might miss in when the generations go, that what actually a forest looks like if you don't see the original authentic old forest. So
luckily some 12% of Finnish forests are protected by law, or different degrees of law.
Yeah.
Should be bigger number.
Yeah.
Jaakko, did you have something on this?
Well,
natural forest?
More like that way that we should learn also from those natural forests, ikimetsä or whatever it is in Finnish, but how forest is almost like architecture of forest, that they are in a symbiosis, that there is not only pines growing in one forest, but there might be spruce and pine, which are kind of occupying the forest in different levels. So it's not only like in 2D the forest, but it has forest floor and then first layer, second layer, and multiple layers. Exactly. And we should learn from that.
Okay. Thank you, Peter, for the good question. Then Finnish Design Info asks that where should we market this know-how? We were talking about whether what Finland should export, whether it should be products or material or know-how. But where should we market it, in your opinion?
Where should be marketed?
Like any regions or countries that we should focus on?
Okay. Well, that's a good question.
Asians are naturally quite fascinated about our way of, you know, that we are so connected to the nature, and we have so much still left here, nature. If you think of 5 point something million people and so much area here, so if you go to the more crowded places there in Asia, I've been quite a lot of doing with Japan and China, Hong Kong, and understanding from their point of view where to market it. I would say one still there. Europeans are more closer to us. They also have a bit similar kind of culture and all everything, but everywhere. Let's everywhere. Well, let's be proud of this, what we have here, the knowledge that we have.
And everywhere where it's not used in sustainable way, so that's kind of what we could bring there. And I've been also a lot in China, and the main thing was also that they would use the local materials there, but our design and so on. So it's probably a lot of places where we could help with the Finnish know-how when it comes to wood and the use of wood.
And it would be great if Finland would use more actually wood in architecture, and we would build more wooden buildings. That would be so great. I think that would be something that around the world people would be fascinated, and Finland could take the position there that is the leading country there as well. At the moment when I was saying that yes, we are leading country in the chemistry of kind of where the wood when we're making these textiles, but what about the actual, you know, wood architecture? I think we are not maybe the leading, or not that much. We are known, but we could be there also better.
And I would say that way that we should share the knowledge and more like exchange knowledge between different nations or different professions even. It's not something that we should tell that we know everything and now we tell you how to do this, because that's not the truth. It's that we could learn from each other quite a lot.
Yes, on that note, let's have more wooden architecture in Finland and all over the world, and wooden furniture and wooden products. And thank you all to the panelists, and thank you to the listeners. hope to see you again next week in the event organized by Finnish Design Info. The topic of the event is design in the non-material world. So talk about resource wisdom, for instance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice afternoon.